Good afternoon, learners. Welcome to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, Hyderabad. I am Dr. Ashok Gellu, Assistant Professor, Department of Earth and Environmental Science, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. Today's teleconference is on interaction between Earth, man and environment. This session is primarily designed for MSc Environmental Science students. However, it is also useful for UG, PG students and competitive examination aspirants and other anyone interested in environmental science subject students. This is a fundamental topic to all the learners. The earth provides us with air, water, land and other natural resources that are essential for our life. Human beings depend on these resources, but at the same time these human beings affecting environment. Our activities also affecting this environment and development. Therefore, maintaining this balance between earth, man and environment, the environmental protection is essential for sustainable living. In this session, we will understand the close relationship between the man, earth and environment and discuss about the importance of conserving natural resources for both future and present generations. For today's discussion, teleconference, we have privileged to have two eminent professors. First one, Professor V. Himabindu Madam. Madam, Board of Studies Chairperson, Head, Center for Environment, JNTUH, Hyderabad. Professor Himabindu Madam, research focuses on monitoring air, water and soil pollutants and control of technologies and sustainable technologies for environmental remediation. And another important expert, Prof.T. Vijaya Lakshmi Madam, Professor of Environmental Science and Technology at Center for Environment, JNTUH, Hyderabad. Presently, Madam published about 45 research papers and co-authored many books. Presently, she is the coordinator for DST recognized Satellite Center for Policy Research in Geospatial Technologies for Environment and Sustainable Development. Madam also member in State Level Expert Appraisal Committee, Telangana. Thank you, Madam, for joining us today for teleconference program. The teleconference program duration is 1 hour. During the first 40 minutes, our experts will explain the topic and the remaining 20 minutes interaction and questions with the learners. To connect this teleconference program, please call on 040-23680-456. I once again repeat 040-23680-456. I warmly welcome you, Madam, for this teleconference. Madam, Professor Himabindu Madam,
yes.
Could you please tell me about the interrelationship between the man, environment and earth?
Yeah, I have to start the presentation.
Yes, ma'am, you can start.
Yeah. So, good morning to you all. Today we will discuss about a preliminary information about the relation between man, earth and environment. So, mainly when consider the environment, we can consider it as an three dimensions. Like the first one is we can consider it as a physical dimension. The second one we can consider it as a biological dimension. And the third dimension is a social dimension between the interaction between the man, earth and environment. So, when consider the physical dimension, so mainly it considers the abiotic factors like land, water, air and minerals. So, like it is an these are very essential fundamental for the life activities, and because of these physical features like topography and all, so this influences the climate and weather patterns and availability of natural resources. Sometimes some places you will find lot of vegetation, good vegetation, some places you cannot find good vegetation. It depends on the topography. Based on that, the weather climate depends on that. So this is very much essential for the life activities. So then if you consider the biological dimension, so this is with respect to the living organisms, from microorganisms to very microorganisms, tiny plants, animals, and including us. Okay, so like there is a different but like the diversity, different biodiversity of living organisms are there. So there is a complex interactions among these species because all are interrelated, and so all living systems again interacted depending on the physical feature, physical domains of the environment. So if you consider the social domain where we are entering, and then here how we are utilizing these biotic and abiotic factors for our comfort lives and for essential needs, and how our activities are disturbing the environment or protecting the environment, all considered under the social domain. Okay. So mainly the physical domains, the first one you can consider as a land, and next you can consider as the air, and then the atmosphere. So major three factors. So when compared to the consider this land, so this is the geology and the soils and the topography and the geological resources, like mainly the mineral resources, where we are depending on our total the all minerals we are using for our utensils to machinery and industrial applications, and then lot of gadgets. So everything we are getting it from the minerals, from the geological sources, and the when when considered the earth composition. So here we can call it as a lithosphere. So it is divided into the core, mantle and crust. So the crust is almost this is the where we are depending on our top soil, and so this is where we are mostly depending on our even minerals as well as our food agricultural purposes. So when you consider the soil profile, so it is the soil formed over a period of time from the parent rock due to different weathering processes like physical, chemical and biological weathering processes. So finally a small living lichens and all will grow, then slowly it has evolved into the plant species, then the leaf litter falls on the ground, and then slowly the organic matter accumulation has started in the crust. So almost like 5% of the organic matter only present in the soil, remaining 95% is inorganic it considered. So when so here these are the major composition, like see all minerals are in the oxide forms. So here the oxygen percentage is 46% in the earth, and silicon is 28%, aluminum 8 and iron 5 and other elements, there are other trace elements. So this is the composition of the soil. So another thing, like here because of the topographical features, it influences the atmosphere also. See, based on that, see here the moisture winds as this mountain barrier makes it precipitate here this side. So you can see so it is lot of vegetation is visible in this side, and the other side leeward side you cannot find the vegetation. So and the temperature inversion type in that valleys and all, but based on the topographical factors, it also influences the atmosphere. So next feature is the hydrosphere, and basically it is divided into salt water and fresh water. The salt water mostly you will find in the oceans. So the logic behind why the ocean water is salt means like throughout over a period of time when precipitation occurs, so it carries lot of run of the salts and all, and reach the, because ocean is at the low lying level, so it carries all the minerals and salts reaching to the low lying area, and then it accumulated, and when evaporates, water evaporates, so slowly salt accumulated in the oceans. And when compared to the fresh water, so this is again the freshwater sources are we have surface water and groundwater, and some of the fresh water as an ice and snow. So again the characteristics are a lot of difference between surface water and groundwater and seawater. So because seawater almost like 3% of the salts you can find in the oceans. In the groundwater, because of the geological nature soil in that area, so the quality of the groundwater depends on that soil. And surface water, because the water interaction with the ground earth is limited, so you can find minimal salts in the surface waters. Again these are different layers, like based on the, in ocean you have it is a very deep, and see based on the depth you can find some light, and temperature and pressure varies, so even biodiversity also varies, and most of the biodiversity you can find more biodiversity in the oceans than on the earth. So these freshwater layers again, so that is the floating and then standing waters in the lakes. So you can find a stratification in the lakes like epilimnion, metalimnion and hypolimnion, where the difference is the epilimnion almost it reflects to the reflects us with the atmosphere, the temperature and all. So metalimnion drastically temperature declines, and then hypolimnion always it maintains the constant temperature, because it is not directly interacting with the atmosphere. But here during some seasons where you can find in the spring and such type of the autumn conditions, where the surface atmosphere also almost reaching nearer to the bottom water temperatures, then there will be a swirling type of action occurs in these ponds and lakes. So you can find a maximum the nutrient cycling, and then you can find lot of algal growth in spring and autumn seasons. So that is the freshwater, the standing waters, and then the lotic system, it is regarding the flowing water. So it is a continuous flow, so variable depth and velocity and fluctuating temperature and dissolved oxygen concentration also, because the dissolved oxygen concentration depends on the temperature of the atmosphere. And another thing is, when the temperature increases, water molecules moves, so the dissolved oxygen won't react with water, it will only trap between the water molecules. When temperature rises, water molecules will move apart, then the dissolved oxygen will again moving out from the water into the atmosphere. There will be a dynamic equilibrium. So there are again the glaciers and ice caps, where you can find the water forms as an ice, and there is a water vapor and in the clouds form or water vapor form in the atmospheric water. So again there is a in the atmosphere the water plays a major role, it also causes the it retains the temperature, it helps the retaining the temperature in the atmosphere, but at the same time, so it influences the lapse rates also. Okay, so in atmosphere when you consider, so most of the gases are prevailing at the nearer to the earth surface because of the earth's gravity. So while you going to the higher altitudes, so you will find the minimal composition of the gases. That's why you will find the hilly stations are little colder, and because of the even oxygen concentration also less on the hilly stations. So these are the composition trace gases. Major compositions are nitrogen and oxygen, so 20 and approximately to 80%, and the carbon dioxide is almost now because of the industrialization we are now it is around 0.04%, and the trace gases and water vapor and aerosols. So even these aerosols is playing a big role in the atmosphere now, because So there are different types of aerosols like the inorganic or the metallic. So if it is inorganic like sulfur particles, they may reflect back the sun rays, and if it is a metal particle, it absorbs the temperature and retains the more causes more global warming, and it influences the climate influences in the micro regions. So here you can divide that atmosphere into the 4 layers like the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere and the atmosphere. So in troposphere normally, so these are the maximum gases mostly we are finding more higher concentrations. So but here the temperature lapse rate here, while increasing every 1 kilometer, there will be a decrease in 10 degrees temperature. This is the we are calling it as a lapse rate. So then again in stratosphere it again rises because the ozone concentration, and again in mesosphere it is again decreasing, and again in thermosphere the temperature is increasing. Mainly the composition of the gases above the stratosphere, mostly it is ozone, and the mesosphere and the thermosphere you can find the ions and radicals because of the higher temperatures they are exposing because of the sun's activity. And even when you compare the lapse rates, because see normal adiabatic lapse rate, that means without any external temperature automatically the raising air it cools on its own, we call it as adiabatic lapse rate. This is per kilometer around minus 9.8 degrees, but in other conditions sometimes it may be less cooler than the adiabatic, so we can call it as subadiabatic. Sometimes it is more cooler than the adiabatic, we will call it as super adiabatic, and sometimes it increases the temperature while going higher altitude, then we will call it as an inversion. So in the different situations, how an pollutant behaves, if you release from a stack, how it takes different shapes they are giving, like when the inversion layer happen, and when it is neutral it is taking a cone shape, when it is not stable like when it is super adiabatic conditions, like when you go to the higher altitude the temperature drops more than the adiabatic, we will call it as super adiabatic. So here the flue gas will take there is unstable conditions, they take in a different looping pattern. So when the inversion layer on the top, it can fumigate, like it goes down, so it is a fumigation type of thing. So like it is an inversion condition, it is a fanning type. So these are different behavior of the pollutants you can observe. Okay. Then the second domain, when you consider it is an biological dimension, it is mostly the ecosystems, how these ecosystems again depending on the abiotic factors like water, land and temperature and everything. So here we can see there are the functions of the ecosystem, like nutrient cycling and water purification, carbon sequestration and so pollination. So these are the because of these functions we are able to survive. And here these are the like the how they interact with each other, like there is an food chain and food web and lot of biodiversity, and so the interactions considered under this subject. So these are the maximum services are coastal protection, water quality enhancement, food production, biochemicals, pharmaceuticals, and tourism and recreation, and culture and spiritual identity, carbon storage and sequestration. So these are all ecosystem services, and we have number of ecosystems, different types of ecosystems, and here okay. So like this is an ecological succession. This means suppose any forest fire happens, so the total ecosystem got disturbed, and then so slowly a new species start evolving in that, and slowly that system has started into the new ecosystem, and finally again it become a mature forest. So this is type of ecological successions also, because it resustains on its own, like. And so in any ecosystem there are different trophic levels, like the producers are the major producers, then the different life forms depending on that at different consumer, and finally the decomposers. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you ma'am, for explaining the different dimensions in the environment, including physical, chemical, and biological, and social dimensions. Madam, you have talked about ecosystem and ecosystem services and biodiversity. Madam, I request Professor Vijaya Lakshmi Madam to discuss about the biodiversity and what are the biological provisions in world and India. Could you explain, madam? Madam, you start.
Yeah, very good afternoon to all the learners of environmental science and technology subject from Open University, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. We feel it's a privilege for us to deliver the content about the earth, man and interaction. So as previous speaker, Professor Himabindu has conveyed about all the spheres of earth, like hydrosphere, atmosphere and all the spheres of the earth, we have identified the importance of each layer. So what is the basic dynamic interaction between all the three, like earth, man and interaction? I will be presenting it. So what is the need and scope of the interaction between earth, man and environment we need to understand, and the necessity for us to know how earth supports our life systems. And as you all know, we have only one earth for livable habitat or habit space we have. So we will be studying about interactions between earth, man and environment importance. And as we discuss, like as we go on, like we will be studying, or rather we will be knowing briefly about biogeographic realms and the agroclimatic zones of India. As we know, the importance of environment or importance of the earth as a supporting system. So this is our necessity to know the biogeographic realms and the agroclimatic zones of India. So the introduction, like the presentation outlines the interaction between the earth, man and the environment, focusing on how biogeography processes, human activities and environmental processes, which in other way also alter the earth systems and how those changes feedback on the societies. Any change in any of the processes like earth processes or the human activities and the interaction on the environment will lead to a feedback on the society. So the key points include overview on the biogeographic processes and how we have delineated or zoned the world globally or nationally or the India as a climatic zone. So the necessity which creates us to categorize, or the scientists have classified the biogeographic processes and the zones. So this all gives us an understanding on the resources and the contributing the pressures on the resources like natural resources, be it a land or a mining or water resources, and how best we can handle and how best we can do the mitigation strategies to support resilience and sustainable development. So if you understand this, like this is the view graph showing you the dynamic triangle, as I have mentioned, the earth, human activities and the environment. So you can just see the earth as a supporting system which supports all the spheres with litho, hydro and atmosphere, and the functions, ecosystem functions we just have heard from a colleague, and it supports the life and survival of the part. So human activities, we all know, like the activities which we do on the environment, being it mining or planning, road developments, corridors, urbanization, industrialization, agriculture practices and uncontrolled usage of pesticides, etc. All our human activities will also impact on the earth system and subsequently on the environment which we live, where we live. So what shapes biogeographic realms as in the world, if you see? So the concepts which evolved are as an integrated science. The biogeography deals with the science that studies how and why living organisms are distributed across the Earth, space and geological time scale. It connects biological evolution with earth processes and environmental changes. And as you see, the evolution history, like from the geological time scale and the geographical movements like pertaining to the plate tectonics, continental drift, how the earth has evolved, and then the climate where we have the temperature, rainfall and the seasonality influence ecosystem and species distribution. And geological events, especially the mountain building, have the, like as we know, the Everest is mountain environment is supporting the specific species, and then the geographical barriers, like we have oceans, deserts and mountains restrict movement and dispersal. So the biogeography is nothing but the biology and the geography and the earth history, how it has evolved, and it deals with where organisms live, the spatial distribution. Like we all know, the species are distributed to the specific geographical locations, like kangaroo in Australia and the white tigers or whatever the species we have, they are restricted or rather specific to the geographical areas, which we call it as a spatial distribution. And why they occur there, like what predominance, like basically the environmental and the historical reasons we can attribute to it, and how distribution changes over time. So this evolution process, we can see how the species distribution has occurred. And the examples why only kangaroos are restricted mainly to Australia, or why do tropical forests have maximum biodiversity, and why are Himalayan species different from desert species. So these are the this biogeography helps us to understand biodiversity patterns, ecosystem development, species conservation and climate change impacts. So the main essence of dividing or rather classifying the world as biogeography realms or the biomes or the ecosystem service, the ecosystem niche or the provinces, everything mainly to understand the biodiversity patterns, ecosystem development and species conservation and climate change impacts and the scenarios. So these are the major driving factors of biogeography. So once you see the evolution as the life changes through the time, you can understand how the biological engine of biogeography has evolved, and then species distribution changes because of the organisms which undergo speciation, adaptation scenarios with reference to the geographical adaptations, and extinctions also over the geological time scale life, right from the reptiles or the whatever the cycle we have seen, that evolution in the cycle we can see because of the extinction, dinosaurs and all the species disappear when they fail to adapt to the changing climate, right? And then factors causing extinction, we all know the climate change and habitat loss. If there is no food or the whatever the grassland system, if the grassland system is disturbed, then the habitat loss may occur. Then you have geological events like your avalanche or volcanoes, etc. They make it. And then the competition between the species or within the species. So evolution creates biodiversity patterns observed, which we are observing today. So these are the factors which change or which influence on life: the temperature, rainfall, sunlight and seasons. And the examples like as you can see, the high rainfall and the warm temperature will have a tropical rainforest, which supports high biodiversity, whereas low rainfall and the high temperature obviously will lead to a desert ecosystem, and in turn you can have a different habitation and the species. So this is what the specialized species will have. The climate based changes they cause range shifts, migration, loss of habitats and change in species composition. So if you see the life earth life interaction, so this is how the earth shapes life and life modifies the earth. So earth processes influencing your biodiversity with reference to your geological features or the mountain formations, and then volcanism or sea level change. So these events will subsequently affect on our biological systems, and the examples as we see, the continental drift, separation of continents, and then you have isolation of organisms, and then you have formation of unique species like marsupials in Australia, like a kangaroo and all. So, understanding the outcomes of biogeography, so it's species distribution, why organisms are found in certain conditions, and the biomes, so large ecological regions, tropical rainforest, grasslands, deserts, tundra, and biodiversity hotspots, like so regions with high species richness or high endemism and high threat to the species. So we have biodiversity hotspots in India and world also. We have different regions which represent, and the realms and provinces, like it's a global classification, as I said, like scientists have evolved this classification system. So the global classification of ecological regions for conservation planning basically. And then this provides provinces, the biogeographic provinces are spatial units defined by distinct assemblage of species, climate and ecological processes. So you can just see the major realms of the geographical units, like you have multiple provinces you can come across: neotropical, paleoarctic and afrotropical. So these are the different provinces you will come across in biogeographical areas. Understanding realms aids cross-scale planning and highlights region with high endemism and conservation urgency. So if you see this view graph, you can understand the biogeographic realm to species have a hierarchy of ecological conservation. We can do understanding the things like, so right from your biogeographic realm to the biogeographic province, biome, and then you have ecosystem, habitat, niche and species. This is how the species have been distributed specific to their geographical and the habitation that is suitable for their survival. So you can understand all the examples like pertaining to, in India especially, if you see the biogeographical species dominance, you can see the Western Ghats or the Himalayan regions and habitat niche, etc. you can see here. So major biomes of the world you can see as tropical rainforest, and then grasslands, deserts, tundras you can have. And the brief characteristics you can just see the near to the equator, as we mentioned, like geographically, like how the areas, like we all know latitude, longitude and the equator. So near to the equator you have the characteristic major for the tropical rainforest, and the grasslands like mid latitude you will come across, and the subtropical belts you will come across with the desert areas, and the higher latitudes you will come as the tundras like polar regions and all. So you have distinct species diversity and the distribution pertaining to your biomes all around the world. So you can just see the terrestrial provinces and marine provinces and the coastal zones, so which includes your estuaries, mangroves and coral reefs that serve as nurseries and the carbon sinks. So these are the major agroclimatic zones of India. So the very purpose of zoning agroclimatic zones, zoning India is with specific to the climate and the soil data, which supports different crops, seasonality and all.
Madam, we have a phone call from where?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
May I ask a question regarding the subject?
Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah, actually, I have watched the title, Interaction between the Earth, Man and Environment. I want to ask one question. What is the biggest threat to the Earth? It's the unavoidable threat. What is the biggest threat to the Earth?
Not one.
Yeah, it's not one of the threat actually. See, biggest threat
Multiple.
to the environment, the earth itself is the man or the humans. So whatever the activities because of the industrialization, because of the, see, over the period we have evolved. All our practices, all our actions have been evolved right from your main caveman to today's advanced latest technological person we have evolved. So all our actions and the activities are also impacting the earth and the environment. So I feel personally, our own activities are the major threat to the earth and the supporting systems.
Okay, madam. We have
Yeah.
discussed about physical dimensions. Madam, Professor Himabindu, madam, what is the air pollution impact on humans, especially?
So, like majorly health and the health impacts, like the respiratory problems, what we are facing, the economics, the amount we are spending towards that health
For
protection.
Yes. Okay, madam.
Yeah.
Professor Vijaya, madam, what are the climate change impact on humans and also environment in current scenario? What is the relation between the climate and humans?
So, the climate change scenarios like which we are facing right now, everyone in the newspapers we are reading also El Nino effect, right? So, the climate scenarios we are having and the deficit rainfall, just a day back we have the IMD report.
Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Please ask your question.
To the Professor Vijaya Lakshmi.
Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can economic development and environmental conservation go together, ma'am?
Yeah, we can go. See, basically, we call it as a 5 Ps. I can just, I'll tell you about 5P concept. See, the population, first point. So, on the environment, we have 5P concept, your population, your pressures, right? Increase of population giving pressures on the resources, mining resource or land development or etc. And the corresponding population pressures and resulting to the pollution part, what previous speaker has addressed, and these three actually combining to your policy and the poverty issues. So, economy and the development can go hand in hand provided you address your policy decisions and the poverty issues. See, the technologies are available to treat your environment of air, water or whatever you call it, but only thing economically viable or not, we need to understand that, and without development we cannot survive, and at the same time without environment also we cannot. So, we need to make that sustainable development between our own activities and the environment. So, the technologies are available.
Okay. Madam, I have a query about what is the environmental impacts of urbanization?
Yeah, urbanization first and foremost is because of the urbanization we are making our own topsoil. First is we are disturbing our topsoil. We are making impervious layers, especially in urban areas we are having shortage of groundwater resources or the surface water resources we are disturbing. That is one aspect. The second aspect is recently, like for the past 10 years we are witnessing urban heat island impacts and the rise in land surface temperature. So, because of urbanization, because of your concrete structural practices, you are increasing the radiation within the micro environment, that is urban environment. So, that will definitely lead to your high rise, I mean the land surface temperatures are being on high.
Madam, what are the conservation methods we need to use for the natural resources? For conserve the natural resources, what are the sustainable practices?
Each like water you have to conserve, like how to like rainwater harvesting and then reuse and recycle the water. So, like the agricultural water, so major 80% we are using it for agricultural purposes. So, water, fresh water we are utilizing it. So, how to use the waste water after treating for agricultural purposes, that is one of the best option we have to look it into. And industrial also almost like water we have to recycle it and we have to treat effectively, and we have to adapt the technologies whatever available, physical, chemical, biological, and these are the main important tasks we have to follow.
Yeah, to add on going towards clean and green practices, maintaining the required land scenarios, open lands, especially in urban areas. If you have the balanced open lands, parks, etc., and practicing green construction practices, like some of the practices which we have for the greening of your buildings, etc. So, those things if you practice, probably you can reduce the adverse or the negative impact on the environment.
Madam, we have a lot of natural resources in the world, and at the same time increasing the population worldwide. How can it we conserve?
Conserve.
How can we balance it?
See, balancing, like as you said, conserving the natural resources and all, we have the Sustainable Development Goals agenda. So worldwide, almost all the countries are the signatories of the SDG goals by 2030. So out of the 17 goals, for each parameter or each addressing, they have given critical goals and the indicators. So if you maintain, or rather if you attain those indicators and the goals which go towards sustainable development goals, probably the signed countries will attain the sustainable development practices. That is what I feel.
To add on that, each natural resources is different, like see, minerals or energy resources, like conventional fuels. So like how to go about the renewable energy adaptations, like even whatever the e-waste we are generated from that, how to recover the materials and reuse for the next gadgets, and how to utilize that one gadget for life, by increasing that lifespan time. So these are all the things you have to adapt, and particularly mainly the energy resources as well as the minerals particularly.
Okay, madam. What are the major threats to the present environment?
Yeah, probably all our actions and activities. If it is in urban area, like we are encroaching the spaces like surface water bodies or whatever we have, that is in the urban environmental setting, like not maintaining minimum building construction standards. That is one aspect. Or in the rural areas, or especially if you go, being an agrarian country, like agriculture practices, like so earlier the more usage of pesticides or the whatever you have fungicides, etc. So whether there is necessity for that or not, like sometimes irrespective of that we use more, and losing the fertile nature of the soils. So probably coming to that, and mining activity, like responsible mining we call it, like our own NMDC says being responsible mining activity. So in mining activities you can have being a responsible mining, maintaining the mining processes, like your overburden or whatever the green space or the green cover or mine closure plans. So once we see whatever the document says for a particular activity, if we bring in all the practices that are there as a policy or as a regulation, definitely there will not be any adverse impact of our own activities on the environment. Only thing, we need to be responsible about the regulations, about the rules and the regulations. I feel personally that is my opinion.
Okay, madam, what citizens should follow to protect the environment?
So everybody, almost we are also responsible for producing waste, like our wastewater and solid waste, and our consumption, mainly the crazy consumerism also come into the picture. And then so again there should be an infrastructure also from the government side, it should be provided so that how to practice those conservative steps is possible. But at the moment, maximum possible personal thing is to reduce the consumerism, like the whichever is essential we have to adapt is the first foremost important thing.
Yeah, one word, be as a responsible consumer. There's one word we can say. And I'm sure most of us have changed right from plastic carry bags to a cloth, or rather avoiding bags. Yes. Because that is what, like responsible, being a responsible consumer. So most of the malls and all, they have started pricing the carry bags. So definitely most of us are avoiding, like once the bag is priced around 10 rupees or 20 rupees, nobody wants to buy that.
Yes, ma'am.
So once it is priced, then probably everybody will become a responsible citizen.
Madam, man is the major threat to the environment as per your discussion. What are the threats in near future the environment will be faced?
Yeah, and
Every action.
most of the scenarios which we are facing today, see, especially in Indian scenario, if you have like we have seen Uttarakhand disasters, especially in the northern India, if you see some of the activities like going towards construction activities or the tourism activities. So what are the activities we go with? Most of us are going for tourists and all that. So our own activities are disturbing the specific regions. So one threat is in the northern, nature will take care of. So disasters we are facing, landslides we are facing.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, madam. Please ask your question.
Good afternoon. My question is for Professor Himabindu garu.
Yeah.
Ma'am, my name is Uma Devi and I'm a student at Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, Environmental Science student. Ma'am, I did go through your profile on the JNTUH website and I did learn about your research and contributions, especially in the field of energy. So my question is related to sustainable energy. Ma'am, I have been thinking about the possibility of developing a coin-sized solar energy device with significantly higher power output and efficient transmission capabilities. So from your research experience, how realistic is such a concept and what areas of science, engineering or material research or energy system should I explore to move closer to making this a reality?
Yeah. So like a good ambition. So right now we could able to like entire solar energy spectrum, we are able to draw around 9 to 11% of the energy. So now there are different types of technologies like quantum dots, like the more the semiconducting materials development you have to work on, and there are conducting polymers and then dye sensed solar cells. Different type of materials are being developing for suitable like to increase the spectrum of energy to trap. So in that direction, like materials, you have to concentrate like the semiconducting materials, and then energy band gap, that you have to improve it by combining different materials. So that is the advanced research. You can go through the literature and what is the matter, like the materials also, if it is like rare earth materials and all, it is difficult to take it commercialization. So you have to go for whichever the minerals are highly available, that you can concentrate and you can work on that.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Please tell me, sir.
Hello.
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 Sir, I am hearing. Tell me, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I have a doubt, sir, regarding this topic, sir. Is I per capita plastic consumption desirable indicator of development? Because some developed nations showing plastic consumption is development. Per capita plastic consumption. Please clarify, ma'am.
Actually the plastic, the problem is our behavioral problem. So we are throwing all our plastics into open drains, and then we are choking, and then animals are getting suffering, and microplastics, the formation of microplastic, nanoplastics, and they are causing health effects. These are the one side. The other side, the plastics raw material is our fossil fuels. We are using almost more than 20% of fossil fuels towards the plastic production. So if you have an alternative things, another thing thing is, if you use it, so safe using also is important, because it should not affect our the health, no. So that is also one point. So for single use plastic or for any edible type of like the utensil, the gadgets for storing the food and using for food consumption, that if you can go for an alternative to plastic, that is one way is better to they preserve the fossil fuels, and another thing is to protect our health also. So in that way, to avoid plastic for single use purpose is better option.
Okay, madam, thank you. Madam, what is the role of the students, especially in protecting the environment for future generations? Give your message.
Yeah, I feel like as an environmental student, as an individual, first is like, as we said, being responsible towards all our own practices. The second thing, as a master's student or a postgraduate student, you can spend your valuable time towards research, towards communication, and towards outreach activities, like sensitizing among the people, like be as a environmental volunteer or a organization, NGO and all. So you can go and sensitize the impacts, like either the agriculture community, be it farmers, or in the urban areas, be it users, consumers, etc. You can sensitize, you can bring awareness among the people, and also you can motivate them towards green practices. That is one aspect. And you can extend yourself towards research, like, so in most of the universities we are doing various research focused research areas addressing environmental issues only. So at JNTUH we are doing, as Professor Bindu is looking after green practices like hydrogen energy and all, and myself in resource monitoring using technology like remote sensing and GIS. So you have technological advances and practices, so you can be as a part of that, and you can be as a researcher or a volunteer in protecting the environment.
Madam, what are the energy resources, alternate energy resources in current scenario?
So current scenario, the solar energy, wind energy, like biofuels, we can consider like even geothermal energy. So now waste to energy is also the new term, like how to utilize wastewaters to produce biofuels and to grow the algae. Say there are different generations of biofuels. In that, the third generation, the utilizing wastewaters and growing algae. From that you can recover the biodiesel, like that options are coming. And so we have to mainly focus on the hydrogen energy is new evolving area, like this one, how to make it renewable, like green hydrogen we are talking about, like integrating the renewable energy systems like wind, solar, geothermal, or those systems, how to produce hydrogen. So in that way we are moving ahead. In our country also, the hydrogen economy, hydrogen roadmap, there is a green green hydrogen valley projects are sanctioning.
Most of the states, farmers are burning the paddy straw after cultivation. Because see, you can produce there are number of options, like the production of like oil or gas or biochar from the agricultural residues. So a number of even products also, like bioplastics you can recover from agricultural residues, and biochar, bio oil, and the gas through thermal route, and even through microbiological route. So both options are there. So but still we are able to produce ethanol from the agricultural residues. Hello.
Good evening, sir. A small question, sir. It's in general question.
Ask me, sir.
evening.
Good evening.
Tell me, sir.
చెప్పండి. గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్.
Madam, good evening, madam. General question, madam, ఒకటి. రీసెంట్ న్యూస్ లో ఈ మధ్యన చూస్తున్న అంటాం గ్రేట్ నికోబార్ ప్రాజెక్ట్ అనేది ఒకటి ఉంది కదా మేడం. మేడం వాయిస్ క్లియర్ గా ఉన్నదా?
ఉందండి, వినబడుతోంది, మీరు చెప్పండి.
ఆ గ్రేట్ నికోబార్ ప్రాజెక్టు తీసుకొని రావడం వల్ల కొంత హాట్స్పాట్ ఇండియన్ హాట్స్పాట్స్ అనేవి డ్యామేజ్ అవుతున్నాయి మేడం. అయితే దాన్ని డ్యామేజ్ కాకుండా వీళ్ళు ఏం చేస్తున్నారు గవర్నమెంట్ అంటే కొన్ని శాంక్చరీస్ తీసుకురావడం కూడా చేస్తున్నారు, అంటే ప్రొటెక్ట్ చేస్తూ. కానీ దానివల్ల కూడా ఏమవుతుందంటే మేడం అక్కడున్న లోకల్ ట్రైబల్స్ కి థ్రెట్ వస్తున్నది. అంటే వాళ్ళు ఉన్న ఎప్పటి నుంచి ఉన్న వాళ్ళ రిచువల్స్ కానీ అవన్నీ చేసుకోవడానికి వీళ్ళు అంటే వాళ్ళకే ఎంట్రీ లేకుండా పోతున్నది. అంటే ఇక్కడ గవర్నమెంట్ పాలసీ వల్ల ఇప్పుడు అఫ్కోర్స్ ఈ గ్రేట్ నికోబార్ వల్ల ఇండియన్ ఎకానమీ గ్రోత్ అవుతుంది, ప్రాబ్లం లేదు, కొన్ని ఎంప్లాయబిలిటీ క్రియేట్ కూడా జరుగుతుంది. దాంతో పాటుగా కొంచెం యాప్టెక్ లాస్ కూడా అవుతుంది కదా మేడం. దాంతో పాటు అక్కడ ఉన్న లోకల్ పీపుల్స్ కూడా కొంత ఎఫెక్ట్ కలుగుతుంది కదా. ఇటువంటి దాన్ని మనం ఎట్లా ఫేస్ చేయాలా మేడం? ఏమన్నా జనరల్ గా టాపిక్ రిలేటెడ్ కాకపోవచ్చు.
Impact.
Part of the environment, man interactions and all అండి. The Nicobar project ఏంటంటే the government envisages lot of మీరు చెప్పినట్లు most of the employment కాదు, ఎంప్లాయ్మెంట్తో పాటు ఏంటంటే మన కోస్టల్ ప్రొటెక్షన్ ఒకటి సెక్యూరిటీ వైజ్ అండ్ నావిగేషన్ లైక్ మ్యారిటైమ్ నావిగేషన్, కార్గో, షిప్పింగ్ ఎక్సెట్రా విల్ బి మోర్ ఇంప్రూవ్డ్ అనేది ఒక పాజిటివ్ సైడ్ ఆఫ్ ద ప్రాజెక్ట్. Of course, negative or adverse impacts ఏంటంటే local habitation, endangered species, hotspots, biodiversity, all this will be fragmented. So probably once the project comes in the DPR, EIA studies will be taken up, complete EIA studies will be taken up only. So definitely in the DPR or the EIA they will be addressing all this, like how to protect native species and all. So that is what personally I feel.
And social problems also they have to address, no, like the compensation.
Yeah.
Thank you, madam, Professor Vijaya Lakshmi madam, and thank you, Professor Himabindu madam, for coming to this teleconference program. Madam, you have explained about different dimensions of the environment and interrelationship between the earth, man and environment, and you have also mentioned different type of pollutions like air, water, soil and solid waste management and biodiversity and ecosystem services. All these are related to this topic, and thank you very much madam for this discussion. And thank you viewers.
Thank you.
Thank you all.